This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, January 13th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Favorable weather helps firefighters in Southern California as the big question about the problem-plagued response
What the hell happened?
still remains unanswered. I'm Jim Roope in Los Angeles.
President Biden talks pardons and regrets at an impromptu news conference. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A Republican lawmaker expecting shock and awe surrounding executive orders from the incoming president. I'm Clayton Neville.
Bibi and Biden on Israel and hostages. Laurence Brooks has that story.
On Wall Street, investors are hoping stocks recover today from last Friday's ugly plunge. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Another death attributed to the bird flu, and the Biden administration's about-face on a controversial steel merger. All ahead on America in the Morning. The death toll continues to rise. Dangerous winds are fanning the flames again. And of course, there's finger pointing and blame to go around as deadly wildfires continue in the Los Angeles area. America in the Morning's Jim Roope is there.
The weather over the weekend did favor the good guys as firefighters were able to grow some containment around 6 major fires burning across LA County. But Rich Thompson with the National Weather Service says the other shoe's about to drop.
Unfortunately, we're still under Santa Ana wind pattern. We have expectation of moderate to strong Santa Ana winds from today through Wednesday. So there is a red flag warning in effect for this area until 6 p.m. Wednesday.
The two largest wildfires, Palisades Fire burning in Pacific Palisades and Malibu, now at about 24,000 acres, 11% contained. The Eaton Fire near Pasadena, over 14,000 acres and nearly 30% contained. Thousands of structures, homes, businesses, schools, and other buildings destroyed or damaged. So far, 24 deaths, and that number is expected to go up. Meantime, on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, California Governor Gavin Newsom said in spite of some reports, all fire hydrants in the Palisades area were working, and he said all state-controlled reservoirs were full, pointing his own finger at county leaders over one empty reservoir. The Santa Ynez Reservoir in the Palisades area, that was empty, left 117 million gallons of water unavailable to fight the fire.
That was not a state system reservoir.
He's launching an independent investigation, he says, into that and other issues that hampered firefighting efforts, such as a shortage of firefighters because of budget cuts. He has authorized 1,000 extra National Guard troops deployed to the area, making it more than 1,600. Guard personnel, he says, will aid in a variety of ways.
We have the rattlesnake teams that are doing the line and working with the hand crews. We have other logistics packages happening. And we saw our first MAFs, which are these folks that are doing retardant, which are military planes, and the guards leading that operation. So it's a combination of all those factors. And of course, fundamentally, 600 plus just focusing on looting and making sure there's law and order on the streets.
He also says he's heard the criticisms leveled at him by President-elect Donald Trump, such as Mr. Trump calling him incompetent and poor management of the water and of the state in general is the reason for this major disaster.
I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office.
Newsom says he has not heard from the president-elect, however. He also signed an executive order that he says will streamline applications for immediate help and long-term assistance, including sidestepping some environmental laws to help when rebuilding begins. Newsom also believes this could very well be, in terms of costs, the worst natural disaster in the history of the United States. So far, estimates between $135 and $150 billion. Jim Roope, Los Angeles.
Criticized for a scarcity in doing news conferences, President Biden held a rare question and answer with reporters, likely his last one at the White House. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
Following remarks made about the economy, the president took time to answer a few questions. Asked if he regrets his decision to run for re-election and whether that made it easier for Donald Trump to win in November.
I would have beaten Trump, could have beaten Trump, and I think that Kamala could have beaten Trump, would have beaten Trump. It was the greatest honor in my life to be President of the United States, but I didn't want to be one who caused a party that wasn't unified to lose an election. And that's why I stepped aside, but I was confident she could win.
He was also asked if he's considering pardons for members of his family or for himself.
For myself?
Yes, sir.
No, I have no contemplation of pardoning myself for anything. I didn't do anything wrong.
The White House also announced they were expanding sanctions against Russia's energy sector.
They will have profound effect on the growth of the Russian economy and make it more difficult for Putin to conduct his wars. It is probable that gas prices could increase as much as 3-4 cents a gallon. But what's going to have a more profound impact on Russia's ability to continue to act in the way it's acting in the conduct of war.
Biden also spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday. The two leaders discussed the peace negotiations in Doha, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria, and other matters. Netanyahu thanked Biden for his lifelong support of Israel. The president will make a farewell speech to the nation from the Oval Office on Wednesday night. John Stolnis, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better together. It's the lowest price of the season on the top-selling Sleep Number i8 smart bed. Limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store. A flurry of executive orders when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. High winds continue in California, fanning flames of wildfire. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with the forecast.
What continues to be an ongoing concern in Southern California as the fires in the region continue to burn. We are looking at the redevelopment of Santa Ana winds forming once again across that region. Gusts more favored areas will be ranging from 40 to 60 today and will peak on Tuesday with an AccuWeather local storm max of 100 miles per hour. Most other western states will have a quieter day with plenty of sunshine and temperatures near or slightly below average with highs in the 30s in interior areas from Washington and Oregon southward to northern Arizona and New Mexico with some 40s, 50s, and 60s along the coast from north to south into southwest Arizona. There will be a quick-moving system moving through Montana into eastern South Dakota and northern Wyoming with a few snow showers along it. This will be on the edge of some Arctic air settled into the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota, where highs will be sub-zero in a few places. This colder air will extend into the mid-Mississippi Valley, including parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, with highs only in the 30s. This is about 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average. We have a quick-moving system also shifting through the northeast with some snow showers along it from Michigan into Ohio and West Virginia, as well as western Pennsylvania and New York. A few inches of snow will be possible, especially near the Great Lakes. And another storm moving through the Gulf Coast region will lead to some rain from southeast Louisiana into southern Mississippi, and then continuing eastward to Georgia and northern Florida, even southern South Carolina. That's the weather across America. Grand Forks, North Dakota will have a cold day despite some sunshine with a high of 4 below zero. It'll be milder in Miami with partly sunny skies and a high of 78. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Republican lawmakers are expecting a slew of executive orders when President-elect Donald Trump enters the White House 1 week from today. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Senator John Barrasso told CBS's Face the Nation that the rubber meets the road this week when lawmakers meet to confirm President-elect Trump's cabinet picks. And after that,
when President Trump takes office next Monday, there is going to be shock and awe with executive orders, a blizzard of executive orders on the economy as well as on the border.
Barrasso told CBS that when he and other lawmakers recently met with Trump,
what President Trump said, the number one goal for the Senate needs to be to get his team in place. I've met with just about all of them. I support every one of these nominees. As the whip, my job is to make sure they get across the finish line, get on the job, and President Trump deserves a team early. Chuck Schumer said he wants to make fireworks at the hearings. If that happens, we are going to work around the clock, through the night, through weekends, to make sure we get that cabinet confirmed.
The new Senate Majority Whip expects Trump to also rely on the slight Republican majority in the Senate and the House to get his agenda accomplished. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke by phone to discuss the latest in the hostage negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Laurence Brooks reports a large Israeli delegation is heading to Qatar in the hopes to secure a US-mediated hostage release.
Benjamin Netanyahu has approved sending the director of the Mossad Foreign Intelligence Agency to ceasefire negotiations in Qatar. It's not immediately clear when David Barnea will travel to Doha, but it's a sign that talks are progressing between Israel and the Hamas militant group. His presence means high-level Israeli officials who would need to sign off any agreement are now involved. The talks, mediated by the United States, Egypt and Qatar, have repeatedly stalled since then. Netanyahu insists on destroying Hamas's ability to fight in Gaza, while Hamas demands a full Israeli troop withdrawal from the largest devastated territory. I'm Laurence Brooks.
In sports, the final NFL wild card game of the season is tonight between the Minnesota Vikings and Los Angeles Rams. The Rams lost home field advantage due to wildfires in the Los Angeles area. The game will be played at a neutral site, home of the Cardinals in Glendale, Arizona. Major U.S. airline reports record profits when America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investors hoping to recover from last week's losses. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with the Monday Report.
Wall Street opens this morning after a really ugly day for stocks on Friday. It was volatile, too. All of the Trump election win gains have been wiped out. Bond yields spiked, pushing stocks lower on a better-than-expected jobs report that could keep the Fed from having to cut interest rates again anytime soon. Investors want the Fed to cut interest rates. These cuts were baked into record-high stock prices.
You know, there are tailwinds and headwinds to everything we talk about. Any hopes for, what were we supposed to, we were going to get 4 or 5 rate cuts at one point, right? Then we're down to 2. Now we're down to 1. And we actually just talked about the possibility that there could be 0. And by the end of the year, who knows? With tariffs and immigration, you could actually be seeing interest rate hikes if inflation stays hot.
CNBC's Joe Kernan. Would-be homebuyers are just wishing for those 6.9% mortgage rates again. Those were good, especially as the spring home buying season's right around the corner. And now the 30-year fixed home loan average is 7.25%, their highest since last May.
We are much higher. Rates have been rising since the start of this year, but the average rate on the 30-year fixed rose to 7.24%. That, according to Mortgage News Daily. So, okay, here comes more math. If you are buying the median priced home, which is around $400,000 today, and you're putting 20% down on a 30-year fixed, your monthly payment is now $239 more than it would have been just back in September.
CNBC's Diana Olick. More big companies are curbing DEI policies, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, including Facebook and Instagram parent Meta and Amazon, as the companies work to develop relationships with the Trump administration. Delta's CEO says more people are flying, and he expects his airline to have its most profitable year ever.
The brand is healthy. We're seeing advanced bookings look great into the new year. We're looking at our all-time best year in our history.
Delta CEO Ed Bastian on CNBC. Yum Brands, KFC, is chasing value like a lot of the fast food chains. Brand Eating says KFC is out with a new lineup of $5 bowl meals, mac and cheese topped with original recipe nuggets, but prices can be higher in select cities. It's a trend in the fast food industry. On today's watch list, if you like YouTube TV, starting today, it costs you $10 more a month. $83 now. Some people are saying cable TV is cheaper.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. More time for Steel merger. That's when America in the Morning continues. We're back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. A second person reported dead from the recent round of bird flu. Fox News reports a man in his 60s succumbed in Louisiana, and now a child in California is dead. Ben Thomas reports on ways to avoid the bird flu, which is also responsible for the increase in the cost of eggs.
The H5N1 bird flu that's been spreading among wild birds, poultry, cows, and other animals has now claimed the first human life in the U.S.
I think it's really important for people to think about a couple things.
Angela Rasmussen is a virologist at the University of Saskatchewan.
If they have backyard chickens or pigeons or birds of any kind, they really need to be careful about that. And that means wearing appropriate personal protective equipment when they are anywhere near the birds.
Rasmussen also recommends keeping pets away from wild or dead birds. I'm Ben Thomas.
After ordering a block of an announced merger between Nippon Steel and Pittsburgh's US Steel, the Biden administration has ordered a delay until June for the Japanese-based steel giant to abandon its nearly $15 billion bid. President Joe Biden blocked the acquisition on national security grounds January 3rd. The delay will give the courts time to review a legal challenge the steelmakers brought against Biden's order. It was 1 week ago that both U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel filed a lawsuit saying blocking the merger was done by Biden to gain favor with the union workers, and there is no security risks alleged by the White House. The White House, Treasury Department, and the United Steelworkers Union has opposed the deal. Donald Trump has also voiced opposition to the merger. Following that and other news important to you, America in the Morning for Monday, January 13th, 2025, is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The fires could end up being the worst natural disaster in U.S. history.
In terms of the scale and scope.
I'm Julie Walker.
Confirmation hearings begin this week on Capitol Hill. I'm Clayton Neville.
Italy allows an Iranian wanted for U.S. murders to go home.
Vice President-elect J.D. Vance talks presidential pardons for January 6 protesters. I'm Pamela Furr.
The South is slowly warming up after a freezing winter storm.
It's a big deal when there's this much snow in Atlanta.
I'm Donna Warder.
Major League Baseball has banned 2 fans who interfered during Game 4 of last year's World Series at Yankee Stadium. I'm Mike Hempen.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning at the Weather Snow Desk. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A quick-moving system will be shifting through the northeast with some snow showers along it from Michigan into Ohio and West Virginia, as well as western Pennsylvania and New York. A few inches of snow will be possible, especially in areas near the Great Lakes, and the lake effect will also be increasing tonight into the day Tuesday. Another system will be moving through the Gulf Coast region, leading to some rain from southeast Louisiana into southern Mississippi and continuing through southern Alabama into Georgia, northern Florida, and southern South Carolina. Some of the rain could be heavy enough to slow travel for a time. And then the rest of the southeast into the southern plains will remain largely dry with some amount of sunshine and afternoon temperatures mostly in the 40s and 50s with some 60s in South Texas and along the Gulf Coast, which is about 5 to 10 degrees below the historical average. If you're looking for some warmer weather, southern Florida will have some 70s and 80s. Looking out west for the ongoing concerns in Southern California as the fires continue in the region, we are looking at the redevelopment of Santa Ana winds across that region. Gusts in the more favored areas will range from 40 to 60 miles per hour today and then peak on Tuesday with an AccuWeather local storm max of 100 miles per hour. And the other western states will have a quieter day with plenty of sunshine and temperatures near or slightly below the average highs, with 30s across the interior areas from Washington and Oregon, southward to northern Arizona and New Mexico, with some 40s, 50s, and 60s along the coast from north to south into southwest Arizona. There'll be a quick-moving system moving through Montana into eastern South Dakota and northern Wyoming with a few snow showers along it. And this will be on the edge of some Arctic air settled into the eastern Dakotas into Minnesota with highs sub-zero in a few places. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Wildfires continue to burn out of control in Los Angeles. The death toll has climbed above 24. One of those was a 66-year-old man desperately trying to defend the home he lived in for 55 years. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, strong Santa Ana winds are expected to increase in intensity today and, of course, fuel the fire that has destroyed thousands of structures, with Governor Gavin Newsom stating this could become the most costly disaster in American history.
Surrounded by burnt-out Altadena homes, California Governor Gavin Newsom told NBC's Meet the Press the fires could end up being the worst natural disaster in U.S. history.
I think it will be in terms of just the costs associated with it, in terms of the scale and scope.
The governor says some environmental regulations are being suspended and property tax assessments are not increasing so folks can rebuild stronger.
We have their back. We're going to be back. We're going to do it efficiently and effectively. Don't turn your back. Don't walk away because we want you to come back, rebuild, and rebuild with higher quality building standards, more modern standards. And we want to make sure that the associated costs with that are not disproportionate.
Newsom says they're working on a Marshall Plan.
We already have a team of looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
And an independent investigation is underway into the lack of water for firefighting.
It's not about finger pointing, it's about answering the questions.
Also underway, investigations into the cause of the fires and whether they're linked.
My in-laws' family lost their son last year to a heart attack at 39. To lose him at their house in a year, it's been tough.
All my best friends have lost their homes, so we've lost, a dear member of our church, but she's with God, and our whole town is grieving.
The flames spread and start to move down the hill where I live. I only saw one fire engine go up that hill to battle it. Who can argue at this point that we have an underfunded fire department?
Los Angeles fires have displaced thousands and destroyed some 12,000 structures. County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney says while they have made progress fighting the blazes, the wind is picking up again.
These winds, combined with low relative humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County very high.
But he says they are prepared.
Reports that I've received is that the LA County water system is ready.
LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell says they can no longer allow residents back into burned out areas because of the dangers and the search for the missing.
We will have cadaver dog deployment, and that will result in crime scene preservation.
He says several arrests have been made for looters and trespassers, and officials say they're working on a way for residents to go online to check their property.
We can build a new house, but my father told me his grandmother, so my great-grandmother's wedding ring is somewhere in this pile of ash.
I'm Julie Walker.
One side effect from all the wildfires? Looting has become a serious issue. A man dressed like a firefighter was arrested after being caught burglarizing a home in the Malibu area. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says the unidentified man was nabbed by the cops after seen robbing that home. Governor Gavin Newsom has ordered the National Guard to help with countering the looters, with over 2,000 guardsmen now on patrol. Nearly 30 people have been arrested accused of raiding homes since the start of the fires. America in the Morning continues. Just 1 week from today, President-elect Donald Trump will be inaugurated. Watching events on Capitol Hill, our Clayton Neville.
Senate hearings are slated for this week for a number of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance told Fox News Sunday that change in Washington can't come soon enough, ripping the Biden administration and calling it a dumpster fire.
FEMA's funds are depleted. We have a wide open southern border. Oil is going through the roof. Bond yields went from 4.1% to 4.8% in a month.
Former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins' confirmation hearing is up first for the Department of Veterans Affairs before the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee. Later Tuesday, a confirmation hearing for former Fox News commentator and military veteran Pete Hegseth. He'll face the Senate Armed Services Committee. after recent allegations of excessive drinking and of sexual misconduct. Democratic Senator Mark Kelly was asked about Hegseth on CBS's Face the Nation.
There is not a job that's more serious and more critical to our national security than Secretary of Defense, and we need a qualified individual in that job, and he just does not seem to have the qualifications.
Senator John Barrasso was asked about Hegseth by Face the Nation.
Well, he certainly has the qualities that we need to lead the Pentagon. He knows about a fit fighting force. He is very qualified, in my opinion. He has a distinguished record of service in the military.
Barrasso is working to get Trump's picks across the finish line, as he told CBS.
I've met with just about all of them. I support every one of these nominees. As the whip, my job is to make sure they get across the finish line, get on the job, and President Trump deserves a team early.
Senator Barrasso says that a paperwork problem is holding up Tulsi Gabbard's hearing as Director of National Intelligence. She's received some backlash lately over a so-called stance switch on Section 702, which lets the government conduct targeted surveillance to protect against security threats. Senator James Langford on NBC's Meet the Press.
When she came out and said, hey, this is something I'm going to stand for, that's part of the role of the Office of National Intelligence, is to make sure we're actually watching for people to come attack us and stopping them before they do.
While Gabbard's hearing is seemingly delayed, plenty are scheduled for this week. That includes names like Kristi Noem, Marco Rubio, and Pam Bondi. I'm Clayton Neville.
Pardons for Jan 6 protesters, plus racing to dominate AI. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Italy released an Iranian engineer who's wanted by the United States over a drone strike that killed 3 U.S. service members. Mohammed Abedini arrived in Iran last night after the Italian justice minister asked an Italian court to vacate his arrest. Abedini was taken into custody in Milan, Italy, based on a U.S. warrant. Soon after, Iranian authorities arrested Italian journalist Cecilia Sala on a charge of violating the laws of the Islamic Republic of Iran after she released pictures of women not wearing headscarves on a street in Tehran. The U.S. State Department suggested a potential connection between the two arrests. Sala was freed and put on a plane to Rome as Abedini was heading to Iran. Abedini was accused in the drone strike on a remote U.S. outpost last year in the Jordanian desert near the border with Syria. America in the Morning continues. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance believes some January 6 protesters were treated unfairly and should be pardoned by Donald Trump. Pamela Furr reports on a wide-ranging interview Vance gave to Fox News.
In a sit-down interview with Fox News Sunday, Vance said they will be looking at how the justice system was weaponized against those protesters and how they would consider presidential pardons.
Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
Vance also commented on the wildfires blazing through Southern California, saying President Trump is committed to doing a better job when it comes to disaster relief.
We have to do a better job. We need competent, good governance. Now, that doesn't mean you can't criticize the governor of California for, I think, some very bad decisions over a very long period of time. I mean, some of these reservoirs have been dry for 15, 20 years. The fire hydrants are being reported as going dry while the firefighters are trying to put out these fires. There is a serious lack of competent governance in California, and I think it's part of the reason why these fires have gotten so bad. We need to do a better job at both the state and federal level.
On whether there is any consideration of withholding aid to Californians, Vance dismissed the idea, saying Trump is committed to improving federal responses. I'm Pamela Furr.
After one of its hottest summers, most of Georgia ground to a halt with snow and ice, leading to power outages, shuttered schools from Texas to Tennessee, and thousands of delayed and canceled flights in the Peach State and throughout the South, attributed to last week's winter blast. Correspondent Donna Warder reports that Memphis, Tennessee received 3 times the amount of snow it gets in 1 year in less than a day.
The South is slowly warming up after a freezing winter storm cut electricity, delayed airline flights, and shut schools. Snow and ice is melting in southern states, such as North and South Carolina and Georgia.
It happens maybe every 5 to 10 years. I remember there being a big snowpocalypse when I was in high school and another one when I was in college, but it's pretty rare. It's a big deal when there's this much snow in Atlanta.
Duke Energy says power has been restored to the Carolinas, where tens of thousands of customers lost electricity over the last few days. Airport officials in Atlanta say all roadways and parking lots have been cleared of snow after about 1,000 flights were canceled on Saturday. Atlanta got about 2 inches of snow. Last week, as much as 7 inches of snow fell in some spots like Memphis, a city that usually sees less than 3 inches of snow a year.
It's as high as it's ever been. It's just like 3 inches of snow.
And in Arkansas, which got as much as a foot of snow in some parts of the state. The National Weather Service says most of the winter weather has moved out of the area, but some other parts of the U.S., such as the Great Lakes region, may see snow and a mass of cold, dry air coming from the Arctic region. I'm Donna Warder.
Memphis forecast high today, 34 degrees. It's a little too cold for snow in Atlanta with a forecasted high of 46 today. The UK is investing in AI this year in a big way, hoping to become the world's leader in developing and advancing AI systems. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
According to a statement from the British government, the UK is ready to invest in a huge expansion of government-owned AI computing capacity over the next 5 years. The move is in response to a newly published report on AI opportunities commissioned by the government and drafted by British venture capitalist Matt Clifford. The announcement comes as Clifford is appointed as a part-time advisor to the ministers on AI and helping to implement the recommendations in his report. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, "Our plan will make Britain the world leader in AI and give the industry the foundation it needs, which means more jobs and investments in the UK." Some of the recommendations accepted by the UK government are the creation of AI growth zones, accelerated access to planning approvals to build out AI infrastructure, and nuclear energy to support AI. Some experts argue that sovereign computing capacity will be necessary for the UK to become less dependent on other countries for access to the technology. For more, follow me on X @ChuckPalm.
The NFL dominates the sports scene. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
The late game on Sunday was really the first close game of the wild card weekend in the NFL as the Commanders nipped the Buccaneers 23-20. Neither team led by more than 7 points all night, and the winning field goal by Zane Gonzalez as time ran out clanked off the right upright but went through. Earlier, the Bills blasted the Broncos 31-7. That one was close early. The second half was all Buffalo, featuring 2 Josh Allen TD passes. The Eagles pounded the Packers 22-10, forcing a turnover from Green Bay on the opening kickoff and turning that into 6 points, the first of 2 touchdown passes for Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley carried the rock 25 times.
We won a football game against a really good team. This is playoff football. There's 14 teams in, and it's the best 14 teams.
Tonight in Arizona, it's the Vikings and the Rams. The winner goes to Philadelphia for the divisional round on Sunday. The Patriots hired Mike Vrabel as their new head coach. Australian Open tennis first round, 20-year-old American Alex Mickelson upset 11-seed Stefanos Tsitsipas in 4 sets. NBA, the Pacers stopped the Cavaliers' 12-game winning streak with a 108-93 win in Cleveland. Indiana's now won 6 straight. Kings beat the Bulls for their 7th win in a row. NHL, the Red Wings routed the Kraken for their 7th straight win. Senators shaded the Stars, ending Dallas's 7-game winning streak. That's Monday Sports.
There's Robert Workman with a check of sports. Facing arrest, attending baseball games. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. The box office dominated this weekend by older releases. Here's entertainment reporter Kevin Carr.
Only one newcomer made it to the top 5 at the box office.
How'd you guys meet?
Prison. Tinder, actually.
Den of Thieves 2, Pantera stole $15 million this weekend, which was enough for first place. Its take is on par with the first film's opening weekend 7 years ago.
And the cop goes gangster.
The rest of the top 5 were holdovers from Christmas.
There will be one Lion King.
Mufasa the Lion King came in second with $13 million. Sonic 3 was third with $11 million. Nosferatu was fourth with $6.8. And Moana 2 rounded out the top 5 with $6.5 million.
Finally, we're back to who we're meant to be.
I'm Robbie Williams. I'm one of the biggest pop stars in the world.
Award hopeful Better Man flopped in wide release, barely making $1 million for the Robbie Williams biopic starring a CGI chimpanzee as the British pop star. A darling with critics, its poor performance is likely due to few Americans knowing who Robbie Williams is. Other box office news comes from international numbers.
I have a secret, Mufasa. I always wanted a brother.
After a slow start in the States, Mufasa crossed the $500 million threshold worldwide. Disney's other winter hit, Moana 2, is in striking distance with $1 billion.
Bring it on, Coco.
And not to be forgotten in a race, Sonic 3 is expected to cross $400 million this week.
Try to keep up.
I'm Kevin Carr.
Baseball season begins next month with spring training, and after that, the regular season. But for two New York Yankee fans, they might be a little untrustworthy singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Correspondent Mike Hempen explains.
Major League Baseball has banned two fans who interfered with Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts during Game 4 of last year's World Series at Yankee Stadium. MLB has sent a letter to Austin Capabianco and John Hansen, telling them they have been banned from attending any games at all big league parks. The letter says they interfered with play by intentionally and forcefully grabbing Betts, posing a serious risk to Betts' health and safety. Betts leaped at a retaining wall in foul territory and caught a pop fly, but a fan in the first row with a gray Yankees road jersey grabbed Betts' glove with both hands and pulled the ball out. Another fan grabbed Betts' bare hand. If Capabianco or Hansen are spotted at any MLB property or event, they will be removed from the premises and subject to arrest. I'm Mike Hempen.
That's our show for today, Monday, January 13th, 2025. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.